What's going on, YouTube? Earthbower here.
CVH here.
And we have a different kind of video for you today. We're going to go over the top 9, I guess, sets, since we're
going over all the sets we consider real. So
Yeah.
from Rise of the Duel Masters to Vortex, which was the newest set, and we're just going to go...
Yeah, skipping the intermediate sets like the Dragon Box thing
that
came out
wasn't
that had 2 cards.
We're skipping the Dojo edition because it was like basically all in Rise.
Skipping TVR.
Yeah, obviously. We're skipping also the Elite Series. Those aren't really sets, but like the things that have numbers, not everything that has a number is going to be included, but all the real sets that we feel were actually like, booster packs you can go and buy them that impacted the meta after Rise.
Right, and there were 9 of them, which I guess in order it was like Rise, Evo Fury, Dragon Strike, Clash, Shattered Invasion,
5 Mystics,
and then 5 Mystics, Gauntlet, and
Vortex.
So those 9. So we're going to list those off in order of, I guess, most relevant to least relevant, and
some of our favorite sets, the things that we think impacted the meta the most, like the best sets to the worst set.
And give our color commentary on it all throughout.
Yes.
So
and we have a special surprise at the end of the video. We have a pack opening from what we believe is the worst set Kaijudo ever came out with.
And this is where they skip to the end and don't watch our video at all.
You should watch. Well, I just wanted to hype it up. We have some good sets first.
If you watch through this whole video, we open a pack. We will open a pack at the end. Not if you skip to it, we won't open it. But if you watch this whole video, we'll open the pack at the end.
If you skip to the end, the game dies.
Yeah,
it's awful.
It's already happened. All right, so let's start off with the best set, I guess, as we draw
best set
up
in
here.
Kaijudo.
The one that I guess, and this is all purely our opinion, of course. We're not representing any sort of organization slash.
Yeah, to think of our criteria, we're talking about the ratio of like playable impactful cards to unplayable non-impactful cards.
Right.
Also, like the value of super rares is important, and like just how much the set basically affected the meta and like changed it, and like for the longevity, like the set impacted it and it stuck. It stuck.
It sticked.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, it stuck. And like basically, you gotta take into account we had a rotation too. We're not affecting that for like our picks here. It's just at the time when the set came out, how it affected what we were doing at the time.
How big of a deal
the longevity. Yeah, exactly. So our number 1 pick, and this was a tight one.
Number 1 and number 2
for all
close.
like a minute.
Yeah, I mean they both had merit, but it's pretty close.
But number 1 we wound up giving to Dragon Strike Infernus.
Editing.
Yes.
Crazy stuff. Didn't even know. Alright, so Dragon Strike Infernus had some insane cards, like Andromeda the Citadel and Herald of Infernus and Lyre the Blazing Sun. Those 3 really stick out. And also Bottle of Wishes. Like, you think Kaijudo and you really think those 4 cards, like, I think they'd be in any sane person's top 10 list of the best cards of all time. Like, all 4 of them from one set. And it was a small set.
Right, it was 55 card set with the 5 super, so a 60 card set. And those aforementioned cards, the Andromeda, Lyra, Bottle, Herald, all the birds that accompanied those guys, as well as some other supers in the beginning, like Dracothane, Issel a little bit. Like, all those cards from the minute the set came out, all the way up until the game, or all the way up until rotation hit back in...
Well, except for Issel. Issel sucked, kind of.
But yeah, well, that was like May of last year. Like, ever since that rotation hit, or no, that was May of this year, excuse me.
Either one.
Right, but ever since rotation hit, since the set released to rotation, those cards were seen in top decks throughout. And I mean, a lot of this information we base off of KMCs from what we've seen top and do well throughout, like in the competitive scene, as well as just like tabletop games too. Like, these cards were in everything, and they were the most hyped up. And anytime anyone thought about Kaijudo and value for cards, those are the cards they thought about.
And it didn't help either that the set was discontinued like shortly into its existence because they were like some of the most sought after cards. You wanted to be competitive and run control, or dragons, which are like 2 of the 3 pillars that we really had back then. You needed 3 Andromedas, you needed 3 Lyras, you needed, I guess, other commons in the set. And you can't even forget about the small things like Nyx and Umbra, which are some of the best support cards the game ever saw. Even Lux, and like you can't even forget about like Bronco the Treacherous, things that even aggro got cards.
Tendril Grasp, Reaping Sow even. No,
those are both in Evo Fury.
Was Tendril Grasp even?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then there you go. I thought they had, there were other...
There are a lot of playable cards. I can make a list if you want.
Yeah, you should probably do that. Okay. Just get on the website real quick. But yeah, the set, for being as small as it was the most impactful, I think, as Kaijudo set goes, and as it went for the longevity of its time.
Nature got Manapod Beetle, things that were seen in Tempo for a long time. Nature actually kind of underrepresented if you think about it. Like, it still got good cards, but...
We had the Bronca and the Burn Claw, which were major rush players throughout the life up until rotation hit.
Yeah. Mostly just Bottle and Dragons. It really does it.
Spark Cage saw a lot of play initially. Canyon Skimmer.
Dendrite, Emperor Dendrite. Hard to
Yes.
forget about Dendrite. Like, you think that set released, then Clash and Shatter
Because
released.
we
and all these
only
other
had
things
3
released.
sets at the time. Where Evo Fury, we were coming hot off Evo Fury and Blurple. You're a namesake. Your coin name.
Yeah. But even after, like, Invasion Earth release with well, even after 5 Mystics, whatever the set with Predator Rusaka was, that was 5 Mystics, right?
Yeah.
So even after that release, like, we were seeing decks with Dendrite, like, centered around it, like, up until rotation. It was just one of the best evolutions to have.
Yep. So, incredible set overall, and definitely the most impactful. But a close second, which you were for initially when we CVH wanted us to say like our best set at the same time. I said Dragon Strike, and you said
Clash of the Duel Masters. This was the first set that introduced multi-civilization cards to Kaijudo. It was also 120 cards, so there's a lot more opportunity to have playable cards. And I think next to Dragon Strike, it had like probably the highest ratio of like really playable cards to unplayable cards.
throughout its longevity as a set, and I mean even now post rotation, like this is the first set in the rotation, so all of these cards since they came out until this very moment are still completely playable, and a lot of them are seen play.
When you think of the super rares, like originally when the set first came out, like everyone was on the King Tritonus hype train, like 3 of that.
Actually,
Completely changed
if
everything.
you remember, Infernus was the hype card
No,
initially.
it was the hype card, but it was not good.
Infernus was the one that a lot of people sought after before, I guess it was the first or second round of KMCs after the set had dropped, because this set dropped right in between a KMC season. So we saw a lot, since dragons were still big, a lot of people focused on Infernus, and then people realized how incredible a +5 was.
Yeah, I was slow and ran Greed Dragons with 3 Emulator and 3 of every other big dragon, and then I realized when Tritonus started beating dragons everywhere that Tritonus just cracked on the deck. And then everyone else was slow until Megabugs finally started doing well, and General Finbar became the best card in the game.
Yes.
Forever.
Yeah, we can't forget the 2 structure decks that came out with this, the Sky Crushers Elite and Finbar, whatever, General Finbar deck. But Finbar was probably the most, even though it wasn't a card in this set, was the most impactful card to come out of Clash coming out, since those were the 2 structure decks centered around it. And then come the very last KMC in Pennsylvania is when I decided to take Megabugs, and actually it was a little bit of a debate on the card up there with you, actually, to whether or not just to run it or stick to the hefty controls that we were all running at the time. And I actually wanted to run Hive Queen just to run Hive Queen because I thought bugs were neat.
We had no idea that tempo was good even when we were doing all of it.
Right, and then all of a sudden realized that this deck is unbeatable when it's paired against these hefty controls that are just too slow and can't do anything. You're constantly manipulating board presence with them.
This set, like, it's a shame to me, and I don't mean this insultingly, and I also mean it to insult myself, but the Kaijudo player base in general was pretty slow. Not like that way, but like we were just slow to adapt. Like it took the entire set for people to realize like tempo was good, and then by chance we finally had like dragons being the most popular deck. And
but then even then, like we were still discovering Mono Light, which I remember having a conversation with Chuck Arnett, our original OP manager. He was like, I couldn't believe that you guys didn't stumble across Mono Light sooner. Like he's like, I figured Sparkly would have tipped it off that this was something that we were like way into over here, like in R&D. But like you guys finding it now at Champs, like he was honestly surprised that it didn't win, let alone more people weren't running it. So
yeah,
like, and I think we attribute that to just a small player base. I think.
Like there's just not enough people testing these sets to like actually develop the meta fast enough. So, like Finbar would have been a lot better a long time before it actually finally won.
Yeah.
Like it should have been winning a lot of those KFCs that were won by the big control decks. Mono Light and like other rush variants should have been higher up on the list. Like, Piercing Judgment and Swordhorn were just underappreciated. Like, when the set came out, everyone was like, I'll shove 3 balls and 3 Tritonus into control instead of, look at these insane early drops, let's see what we can do with them. And they're clearly insane. Like, think of, like, we had Swordhorn, Seneschal, Rusalka Aqua Chaser was still legal. Like, these are just insane cards. And like, Piercing Judgment and Swordhorn still to this day are, like, some of the best cards.
And then even to go back to attribute some more stuff to Clash, going past, I guess, the Season 2 meta, cards like Jump Jets, cards that just, again, because the set was so, I mean, honestly, the set was big, the player base was small, we just didn't get enough time to test it. Jerry Thompson introduced Jump Jets to us midway through season...
It was the next one, season 3, I think, yeah.
Was it season 3 or was it
No,
actually...
it was season 2.
Like, it was midway through season 2, like, introducing Jump Jets when everybody was just like, Jump Jets is, and he's like, well, this gets over all these tempo things that you should be running, but no one's running them, so, Like, it was really
Pro-reads,
interesting.
man.
Yeah, it was just really
I respect
interesting
that.
to see how it's shaped, and then, you know, getting the Hive Queen, the Mana Tick, that deck archetype, as well as, you know, other interesting cards that maybe didn't make as big of a splash, but I'm just looking at, like, Slumbering Titan here. If you remember the Mono Fire Blade Rush Wyvern, the guy who destroyed blockers. Tatsurion, the champion. Yeah.
And Mesmerize, you know, Control wasn't left out. It got like a couple things like
Mesmerize.
Mesmerize. I just think Control was built wrong, and I was part of the problem. I just ran like these giant Control decks. Like, I think if you look at the set objectively, like what the meta kind of finally developed into, I think it was probably one of the most balanced metas you ever had, because we had aggro variants that did well, we had tempo variants that did well, or mostly just one variant, but still it was a good one. And you could build a smaller control deck that actually could beat the tempo decks every now and then, or something like Leviathans, which could do it. And obviously Dragons had just come out the set before, so it was still like the powerhouse that you needed to be able to deal with. You couldn't just lose as a Herald, you're going to lose a lot of matches. And that's pretty much it. Also Squillace Scourge, that's one of my favorite cards. So
Yeah, that was your preview card, actually.
It was Squallace.
And then I got the preview Keeper of Laws, which even today still sees a ton of play because Hexproof, which we didn't
that was
really
our first
appreciate.
Hexproof card, really.
Yeah. We really didn't appreciate it that much, or at least I didn't. You can go back and watch that video where I sort of talked about its relevance. Like, I hammered around the head, but didn't quite hit it.
The nail.
Yeah, the head of the nail. The head of the nail. Whatever. And then there was, I feel like there's one more thing we're missing out on here with Clash.
What are we talking about here?
One more thing.
Anything else whatsoever? I'm pretty sure that's it. Looking at the set.
Yeah, that's probably it. Schoolless.
I mean, it was a really good set.
Yeah,
It's
very good
cards.
set. Yeah, it's very, very good. And now we're even new cards that are coming out of the set that are making relevance now are Kronex. Homunculon was huge for its time, but I mean, cards like from the set are still making splashes, and it's neat to see people going back to, you know, what is technically the first set in our rotation.
When you think of good multi-civ cards, it's hard not to think of this set. They're just the first, and they are the best.
Very much so.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So shall we move on? Oh, I'm just saw this one too. Full note. There's just so many.
Yeah, there's so many good cards.
The set was just too good. Oh, so
In a good way. It wasn't actually too good. It was really good.
It was really, really good.
Number 3. This was a tight one too. We had a few that were coming up that are like not. We knew these weren't as good as the first two because they're just like the insane sets of the game. But these were all very good sets. So we had 5 out of 9 that we thought were very good. That's good. That's a good ratio.
Yeah,
guys.
So we attribute. We give third place to Quest for the Gauntlet. A good set. I mean, granted, we didn't get to test it, I don't think, as fully as we'd like to, but you gotta think, it's a 180 card set and introduced a new block. There's the actual gauntlet.
I found the gauntlet we quested for.
The fingers are broken. But, yeah, just, sorry.
You took me off train of thought.
Yeah, you got me.
Okay. So, basically what we had here was like the same thing where we're starting a new block, but this was important because we actually... What are you doing? Okay, so we actually started a new block at the same time rotations happened. So what we had was like a bunch of these old cards, like dragons, that were just no longer legal, and they had to be replaced. And when they were replaced, I think the level of power creep, they wanted to make Evos relevant again. So what they did was they gave us these evolutions that didn't require races anymore.
Yeah,
so all we had to do was match the colors. And that made them insane. And then they gave them insane effects. And then we had a meta-defining set that I'm pretty sure would just be the Clash of the Duel Masters of this rotation if it was allowed to continue. For months and months and months. We're not going to not see Sasha being played. That new Regent Sasha, I mean, not the old one.
Yeah, Regent Sasha, Arbiter.
Yep. The new Storm Spark Blast. Boulder Fist, War Master Tatsuron, these cards are very playable.
Yeah, almost all the super rares, or at least a good portion of them.
Not the water ones.
Not the water ones, but...
Agrix and Trox both playable.
Sasha, Trox, Agrix, War Master, Boulder Fist, all amazing cards. And we've seen them in top decks over the course of this fourth season of KMCs.
We even saw Jazuri and Sky Shark for the gimmicky blocker deck that I happened to be close to because I won with it. And things like support cards. We had a reprint of Terrapit, which just is another playable card to add to the list. Anjac, insane card. Starter deck promo wasn't bad. We got Rule Core, it's insane. So many good things. So I'm pretty sure if the set was able to continue, then it would just be the set that people needed to get cards from. Like, oh, you need some good cards, and you should probably just go get some Quest for the Gauntlet. It'll set you up on a good footing.
And it introduced Draft.
It really did. That's important, too. 15 card packs the first time we saw them. Biggest set. One of them. It's up there.
It's 170. Rise was the biggest.
Yeah.
But Yeah, introducing draft was huge. Now we have 14 card packs, and honestly, I think in conversations with some of the members of R&D, like this is what they thought was going to save this game, and I mean, so we're in the.
It was a little too late.
Yeah,
as some things were. But
yeah, we're sailing down an endless, or not an endless,
but you can't say it was a bad move. It
No.
was a good move.
Yeah, no, it helped a lot. It just didn't. They didn't see the changes they wanted to see with it, but even still, like it introduced, it just let us draft, which players wanted to do from the beginning and tried to do with the 9-card sets, but the sets just weren't designed for it that way. Like, go back to try to draft Invasion of Earth or Shattered Alliance, which we'll get to later.
Drafting Shattered is better because it's bigger, but drafting stuff like it doesn't have a lot of playable cards, wasn't made for it, just has too many multis, or it's too small, or whatever. It's just
in a set that was like over 100 cards. 70 to 80 of them were multi-civs. That is.
Was that an actual ratio?
It's a lot.
It's not that many. It's a ton. It's like half. You can't do that.
Yeah,
can't believe drafting about that.
Pretty rugged.
Yeah,
but
I think if back in the first Ask Me Anything happened on Reddit, if draft had been a thing since Rise, and they had announced organized play the second people asked for it, like, oh yeah, we have this, and this planned. If those two things happened, I think the game would still be alive. That's my little theory.
Yeah, but I mean, telling us that all we had to look forward to was fighting a giant creature.
Yeah,
sent a
a
lot of people packing.
Yeah, I mean the two are kind of unrelated. I just wanted to mention that, and also the draft does bring players in. Like there are tons of people I know who just said, "Oh, I don't really want to play Kaijudo Constructed because it's kind of going downhill, but I still want to draft, even though we know the game doesn't have much hope. Still want to draft."
Yeah, because drafting's fun.
Drafting will bring players into any game, and is a good way to get cards in the hands of new players, obviously. So moving on, this one was one of your picks.
Yes.
Picks.
This was another one that vied for that third place spot, but Evo Fury. Just because it was the first set, like right before Dragon Strike, because when competitive play was announced, we were getting Dragon Strike shortly before the KMC season started. But a lot of what we had to like test with prior to our KMC season, because Dragon Strike came out and then it was 2 or 3 weeks and KMC started, and we're losing power. But Evo Fury is what we focused on. That's when like Rise had just come out. Evo Fury comes out 3 months later and just completely breaks open everything. Like at this time
it was the first set to really change the meta that much. Like
yeah, we were very much used to playing Duel Masters.
Cards.
Like I hate to bring up Duel Masters in Kaijudo videos, but at that point that was a lot of what our thinking was, because that was what we had to relate back to. It was we didn't have a lot in Kaijudo to sort of string things to, so we strung a lot of it to
what was good in
Duel Masters.
And most of us were XDM players at that point. That was pretty much the player base.
Yeah, so when Evo Fury came out, it felt like things were moving along at a very similar DM path, since we all grew up playing that game. And like
second set evolutions. Naturally.
Yeah, so the focus all of a sudden goes to these Evos are coming out. They're incredible. Got to get into them. And they gave us a lot of really playable evolutions and a lot of game-shaking cards that continue to be good throughout the entirety of the rotation up until they got rotated out. Cards like Emperor Neuron initially made a huge
definitely
splash.
The standout super of the set.
Yes,
for sure.
100%. Cards.
Hydra Medusa,
yes.
One of my personal favorites, one of the best evolutions of the time.
Yeah.
Sabretooth.
The two keys of Blurple, in fact, Hydra Medusa and Neuron, one of the biggest decks up until Dragon Strike had released. But
Dark
yes.
Saberbolt, built by a notorious member of this community, Matsuguro.
Yes.
Actually did some work in putting Blurple away. And then you have Bobby Brake and the Texas crew innovating with Cobalt control. We didn't even think Cobalt was good. Sleeper card of the set.
Yeah, Cobalt hits the scene shortly before Dragon Strike comes out, and even after Dragon Strike comes out, and still proves to be a problem.
Yeah.
That 6500 getting over cards like Lyra and stuff like that, relevant dragons at the time, was huge. Plus the ability to give you that initial shield without having to wait on Andromeda was big in keeping those tempo-y sort of aggro-y.
Even sets later I saw Esperlist splashing Cobalt to do with Prime. Sets later, like with Prime out. If you're still playable with Prime as in the rotation, then like you're pretty good.
Binders Prime is a card that we forgot to mention in Clash.
No, we didn't. It's not in that set.
It's not?
No.
No, I thought Binders were always in Clash. Well, we're getting there. But yeah, Evo Fury, huge. Cards that I mentioned earlier, Tendrilgrass, Reap and Sow, major control
Oh
cards.
my god, I messed up earlier when I said Keeper of Laws was the first hexproof guy. We had King Neptus in this set.
Oh, true?
Jerry T again running that King Neptus Keeper of Laws deck.
Right at the end of season, was that season 1?
Yeah, that was season 1, yeah. I somehow beat it with my pile of crap.
Yeah.
Not a good matchup for me. Yeah. So basically, yeah, evolution decks were the thing. And it was kind of a rock, paper, scissors meta. Saber-tooth decks, Neuron, Hydra, Medusa decks, also just Neuron decks.
Insert randomy control thing because Tetsura and the Unchained and Fire and stuff.
And Cobalt.
Yes.
Cobalt. Different control decks. And I guess you could, like, sort of run... Aggro was hard to run. Medusa and Medusa was a problem for that.
Yeah, Rush again had a lot of tools in this that it continued to work with. Blast Forge Captain was an initial card with Drakens.
It was pretty hard to actually succeed because we had Gloomhall already, and this set gave us Screeching Scarecrow, which was one of the best cards. Like, I think if we're just looking at like the cards from this set that just did the most work overall, I think Screeching Scarecrow just longest living card.
Yeah, probably number one on that list.
So good.
Between that, like, yeah. Even Tendergrass Reapers, I was going to say, but even them, like, if you ran Darkness, you ran Screeching just because it just put away, like, almost
splash a 1 of or 2 of pop in a control list, like, even in the days of Pile, and it's gonna, if you play it against, if it sticks against an aggro deck and kills a guy, you're gonna win. Yep. Pretty much. It's right there. Megan, you put it in because it's that good?
Yeah, it's right there.
Okay, good.
Hanging out.
Sweet. So moving on, and now we finally get to talk about Blinder Beetle Prime. Because we're moving on to number 5, which is Shattered Alliances. It's like the sister set of,
Clash.
Yes.
Yeah, introducing cards like Haven, Kalima, Blinder Beetle Prime, all major cards and still continuing to be major players, even post-rotation. People still trying to jam those in decks, but when this set came out, you still had Andromeda, and guess what's amazing is Light. Like Light is just the best set, best civ.
It's just the best.
By far. In Clash, and then we get Shattered Alliance, and all of a sudden we get a giant hexproof light creature that we can get to because of cards like Haven and Tendril and Reap and Sow and all these great ram cards. And then we also get Blinder Beetle Prime, which is probably one of the best removal cards and still is one of the best removal cards.
Not even just really. It's an aggro card, it's a control card, it's a tempo card, it's the only playable race evolution left at the point in time we're making this video. It's just nuts. Some might say it's oppressive. I disagree with them. I was like, we're eventually going to counter it. It's like, you can counter it, but you have to make sure every deck that you play doesn't lose to a turn 5 prime. You can't lose to it. You have to either prime them first, or you have to play around it. Because every deck is capable of running 3 primes. It's insane. And all the supers are very playable. Something like in Clash I didn't like too much was that Tritonus and Immolator were spoiled. And everyone's on the hype train. I wasn't really on the hype train, and I'm actually surprised they did the work they did, but eventually they both died off. No one ran Tritonus when Finbar became good. No one really ran Immolator when, Jerry's team made the Dragon deck better and didn't need the 11 drops. So, those weren't good. But, even today, if we didn't have Underworld Stalker, Kalima would be tier 1, and Haven is still played a ton. We see Haven decks, we saw Haven decks at James.
Yep.
They did well.
But yeah, on that note, like you're saying with the supers versus this set, almost all the supers in here are playable and still playable and weren't playable at the time and are now playable. Cards like King Albaran, your spicy tech.
Yeah, that was really bad, guys. Yeah. But it was fun.
I mean, Forge Vesuvius never really saw play.
Wild Strider Ramnoth.
Yes, incredible. That was my preview for that set, actually.
A word I'm not really coming to mind, but it's important for the ramp decks. Yes, that.
Yeah.
Archon, not as great.
Archon, not great, but with Haven, it did see some play with the light dark decks. It sort of saw play, but never really got up off the ground. Heretic Prince Faraka.
Yeah, and Volaron, 2 really good dragons.
All of a sudden, you could summon that and 4 birds and just kind of go for game because that was possible.
Yeah, that was a fun thing not to play around. And also impossible without Mesmerize.
And then even now, today, all of 5 or 6 weeks ago, Baran. A card that was almost, it was pretty much blood.
Yeah.
Up until 4 or 5 weeks ago when Ryan Valentino introduces Fresh Avenue.
My God.
That is a deck that I lost to pretty hardcore in our little 6-man KMC.
Twice.
Yeah, twice in fact. But yeah, Boran, who knew?
Reddish knew. He previewed it.
Yeah,
I remember that video.
Oh yeah.
I was like, there's no way you're going to get guys off this effect. And then people started getting guys off the effect. Oh, I'm wrong.
On top of that, we
got Volaron. Good for ramp decks. People still use it today.
Yes, true. Yeah, almost skipped over Volaron.
Yeah, you can't, because it wasn't even that important. Back then, you're like, why would I play Volaron when I could play Andromeda? Guess what we didn't take into account? Set rotations, and now we can't play Andromeda, so if you want to gain shields and you're ramping, Volaron.
But even then, even when Andromeda was around, all of a sudden people would tech this into control decks, and it was a fast attacking Andromeda to clear off tempo threats. That was actually super relevant.
Cordia was also bad. But
yeah, okay. We already mentioned some of the rares. Blinder Beetle Prime. This set introduced Scamp, We got the Marks, Mark of Kalima and Mark of Haven, which we thought were bud at the time, but I mean,
Yeah.
hey, all of a sudden you need to get a Haven out on turn 6. This is the way to do it.
Yeah. Ram, of course.
Yeah, important multi-sub cards, Targusher, Metal Max.
Serpens, the Spirit Shifter. Sherpins,
the Spencer Shifter.
Definitely like the Justicar. One of my favorite starter deck promos, actually. I actually used it at the Champs. It was really good.
Yeah.
Poor Ricky.
Sorry, could
Ricky.
have seen that coming.
Yeah.
Cards that saw play initially, but aren't so much anymore. Kivu, because that was our first card that actually allowed us to interact with our mana zone in a way that we weren't able to prior by getting cards back.
Cool thing I want to mention.
Yeah.
Lost Patrol is good for tempo.
Yes.
We didn't know that was good. We should have known because it was Sword-Horned. But we didn't know until Jerry knew. Also,
Spire Puppet,
yes,
Blister Medic.
Yeah, I was about to say Spire Puppet because it's our first random discard ever. We had like a few in the set, or a couple, but
yes.
Yeah, Spire Puppet definitely still playable. To an extent.
Relevant blockers, Stingwing to conjunction now with the Strider from Clash. Like, we're just getting a lot of really big, beefy, powerful blockers. Like,
and Metal Max and Falcor are just so good. Like, you don't run
still
aggro
good.
without them.
Still good, actually.
It's
Still
so
very good.
insane. Metal Max is you have to beat Metal Max on turn 2. You guys have to slay or be 4,000. That's why Strider's still such a good card. Even Cyberscam's in the set. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Cyberscam's pretty crazy. So yeah, that's pretty much that set.
Yeah. Shout-outs to shout-outs. So we've mentioned a lot of stuff like these. And those 5 sets, I think, as we said prior, probably the most pivotal sets in the game.
They really changed things when they came out.
Yeah, the next one we put at, I guess, 6th place just because it was the first set. There wasn't really a meta to define except with the set. I think the only relevance and the reason we place it 6 over the rest of the other sets is because of the cards that stuck.
Yeah, and there weren't
so long.
there wasn't a high ratio of them, but some of them that did stick really stuck.
Yeah, which was similar.
Rise of the Duel Masters, guys.
Yes. But cards, the super rares, I guess the one super rare initially that I guess, or 2 that we can mention, Tatsurian the Unchained and Crimson Wyvern, I think were 2 of the most relevant supers that sort of stuck for the longest amount of time before they fell off. Tatsurian the Unchained still saw play.
Yeah, Wyvern didn't really even stick. It was sort of just bad until Haven came out, and then it was good.
It was tech. Yeah, it was tech for Haven, and even then it wasn't great tech, but it was there. But those 2 supers, I think, are the only 2 that are worth mentioning. So much the rest were either like vanillas.
Yeah, you had to release the beat sticks.
Yeah, nothing else too relevant. But
even though I'm always a fan of Waterspout Gargoyle.
yes, it is a good card. It's all play up through Dragon Strike at least in the control decks. But the rares, I think, are the most notable here. If you take it away.
Terrapin.
Yes.
Storm Spark, Blast.
Hey.
It was so good they couldn't even give it back to us. Root Trap, Hyperspeed Dragon wasn't even that impressive until Dragon Select, but then it was just
fast attacking armor dragon.
Shock and Awe.
Shock and Awe.
We didn't appreciate you, Shock and Awe.
No,
We're
not
so
up
sorry
until
for that.
Season 1 champs. No.
Yeah, and there's so many staples for different decks I don't even.
Crystal Memory.
Yeah, Memory. How could I forget Memory? So
Logo
broken again,
Scan.
we couldn't even release it. Not even rare. Still really good.
Yeah.
They couldn't release these cards again. They just do what they do too well.
Yeah.
Logo Scan and Crystal Memory. You wouldn't run things like Deep Mind Probe if you had Crystal Memory. It's just
cards that saw a lot of play towards the end of Season 1, Mana Storm, for ramp decks to get you up to like Tritonuses and stuff.
They just released all the best ramp in the set, so for future sets throughout the entire block, if you ran ramp, you'd run like Sprout, Mana Storm, and Reap and Sow and Evo Fury. But
Rumbling Pterosaur.
was it actually called that?
Yeah.
No, that's the wrong one.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
What is it?
I'm Gigahorn Charger.
Gigahorn Charger.
It's a Rumbling Pterosaur.
Rumbling Pterosaur.
Shout out to
Corby.
And the show.
The show. Sure, the show, whatever.
And Gigahorn Charger was another Crystal Memory they couldn't give us back again.
Bronze Arm Tribe.
Yep.
Relevant. Ambush Scorpion. Relevant for bugs. Needed the 2-drop. God.
So like the meta was pretty boring though during this set. Like nothing was really happening. Even if we had organized play.
Old Tail Dragon, but not really relevant after.
Yeah, I mean even if we had organized play, the set itself would have made a pretty boring meta. But like Evo Fury and Beyond, like these are just the staple cards that became like sort of the not the foundation, but like the backbone support system of your decks. Like you had the ramp cards, the removal cards, Terrapin, logos, all these things that were just playable.
Who remembers when
the Duel Masters?
Zagan was the card to beat?
That wasn't even the set though. That was before that. That was back in TBR for like a day.
Yeah.
For like the 5 people who had
Keeper
TBR.
of Dawn.
Yes, I wish that was
Because
good.
we really wanted Control to be back. We really wanted our Control decks from DM, but we just couldn't have what we wanted.
If we had Red Aqua Seneschal and Rusalka Aqua Chaser next to each other,
Oh yeah.
we wouldn't have run Keeper of Dawn.
Yeah, all the relevant attack and get an effect cards. Yeah.
Rusalka Aqua
Seneschal.
Chaser might have been the most insane creature printed until the rotation.
Yep.
Well, no, because
Well,
but until DSI it was.
But yeah,
It was definitely the best card until DSI.
Yeah, Rusalka the Aqua Chaser, Seneschal, Razorhide, Shock and All. What were the other ones? I guess Giga Stand and the Fire one never really.
They were cute. They formed the backbone of Scammers in the stack.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Giga
Yeah,
Stand.
they formed a backbone of like the Oracle decks. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So,
super relevant stuff, and shout outs to Rise for really kicking it off there.
that was a good set, guys.
All right, so we're down to our last three, the
And-
drags, if you will.
Yes, and I'm sure if you've been following along at home, you know which ones they are. Which one will be last, which one will be second to last, and which one is number 7, Carl.
Number 7, Invasion Earth. Just because it still had some relevance, it still shaped our meta in a way that, like, it gave us key cards that we needed to combat certain strategies and sort of shaped a couple more strategies that were a little lesser known. It gave us a whole new archetype in the thingies.
Excuse me?
I forget what they're called.
Corrupted creatures.
Corrupted. There you go, the thingies.
The Slivers? The Survivors?
Well, it's completely lost on me, but gave us that complete archetype. Oh, Drew
Yeah.
Bridges, you're a good guy. Oh,
Yeah. So Wizards thought that deck would win champs, the last 2 champs. I think
I proved them wrong.
something might have been missed in testing because the archetype just wasn't as good as they thought it would be. Be that because people ran Blinder Beetle Prime. Blinder Beetle Prime really killed the set. It's unfortunate to think about,
Yeah.
but if Blinder Beetle Prime hadn't been released, so many things would just be so much better, and you couldn't run these things because of Prime. And that's still a thing we see today, is Prime is killing things.
I think some of the major supers that we can talk about.
Warbringer was, however, very good.
Warbringer for Corrupted, yes. Cassiopeia, probably the most sought after super in this set and one of the most relevant throughout.
Yeah.
Like, and even still now, one of the only other like major 10-drop cards that still sees
Oh, yeah.
play.
Like, now Cassiopeia is good, but for a while it was tied with Major Owl. That was a card you needed for Haven, too.
Yeah, Major Out. Well, that was a sleeper card, actually. Initially, when the set came out, nobody paid that card any mind. I picked up one for a Charizard, I believe. Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I just... Gorby.
Really?
Actually, yeah, because I was just completing singles binder stuff, so we were just trading stuff we needed, and no Major Owls were just being thrown around like pancakes.
My ex-teammates ripping each other off like no one's business.
No idea. Cards that people thought were going to be good, but that weren't good.
Almighty Colossus.
Poor guy.
They spoiled the fifth monarch. We were like, all right, at least if they're not good now, all of the ones up till now had made an impact. Colossus just never did.
Never ever made it.
No.
And people thought when Voxka came out in Gauntlet,
Don't know why they thought a 7 for 7 on attack effect would be good, but they did.
They got there, and it didn't get there. So, relevant cards throughout the set. Sunmote Field. A lot of people made a lot of hype about that card.
You know, if we start by mentioning
Pre-champs of
Sunbow
season
Field, the
three.
set's just kind of lackluster.
Yeah, it's just. I mean, there's
Turn up.
We did get
best
Turn
card in
Up.
the set.
Yes, Turn Up
Was
was
it?
the best card. Yes,
Yeah, okay.
100%.
I'm just making sure.
Super relevant. Again, hexproof. If they print something that's hexproof, it is playable. Literally, just how it works.
Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even like it was like an insane card off the bat. Like we were still on the Haven hype train. Like you couldn't really just jam a turnip on the board and beat the Haven. Next they had like 3 Storm Sparks and 3 Cassiopeias.
Turnip got relevant when Gauntlet came out, and
The sets
Evos,
rotated out.
Yeah, and
You couldn't just a 3 for 3. Like as soon as it attacks, Herald's gonna kill it. What are you gonna do? They're gonna Storm Spark you. They can't do any of those things anymore. So
But we lost Storm Spark with the rotation, and we got a lot of relevant green Evos, because green Evos means evolve on a green thing, and you can't touch Turnip, which is a green thing.
yep.
So
That's why Lost is still good, even though no one runs spells.
a lot
Green
of
and
relevance
white
there.
things. Green
Yeah,
and white.
Core
Yellow.
and Jacks just completely broke
And Jack.
Turnip. So and Jack, I always call him and Jack. Someone one.
You gotta get it right before the game dies.
One day.
That's pretty much it.
Corvus
Corvus Dragon. Dawn Blaze Patrol actually was very good. This is about the time Jerry T designed the Firelight deck, and I was like, hey, here's how you should build Firelight Rush for a new player. Take this deck, go top 8 at KMC. It actually happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Vicious Squalache Scourge.
Oh, I love Vicious Squalache Scourge. I wasn't even really in the set though, so I forgot to mention it, but
Yeah.
I did win a KMC with that card. Sleeper card.
But yeah, that's
'Cause
literally.
we still had our Chimeras. We still had the
it's
base from Evo
almost
Fury.
there. There's just nothing else.
It's okay.
Fail Slip was a hype card that never really got
Never
up off the
did
ground
anything.
because combo decks just never turned into a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's just
Reverberate, I guess, is...
Yeah, Reverb.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's one of the
100%.
reasons we saw the pile, too. Reverberate, cast out, turn up, Corrupteds. is half of my finger for that.
Yep.
That's what they get.
But yeah, Reverberate. I mean, even that card still sees play and still blows some decks out. Like, if you just let them Reverberate on you, you're probably going to lose the game. So
this whole video is like bad KMC memories of Season 4 for you.
Literally bad memories. Bad Wolf. God damn it.
Shout out to Team Bad Wolf.
You guys are awesome.
Okay.
Alright, so set number 8, and then...
Well, I guess I'll introduce the second to last set, so you can introduce the last set.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. So we have 2 sets left,
Yep.
and we're going to give away what the last place set is, so we'll talk about this one shortly because there's not much to say about it.
I know, I get a lot of shit for giving this set shit, which is hilarious.
Because
Well, no.
it's not shit,
No.
but it's...
Alright, so people think, the meta's not developed yet, whatever. In the face of the set that came out before this, like, when you saw Clash come out, then Shattered kind of held its own. Like, it was still... It was doing some things. Like, the cards weren't just strictly worse than the
had
last
the game
set.
by the balls for a little bit.
It
Yeah,
did,
it's
you
just,
know?
Haven was a big deal.
Yeah, these cards are big deals. And unfortunately, in set number 8, Vortex, nothing's really a big deal.
If you say set number 8, but 8th place, this
Yeah.
is like set...
Whatever. It's the most
else,
recent
so-
set, the last set.
Yes.
So yeah, the last official set of Kaijudo in
So
April.
8th place we're giving to Vortex.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Nothing was really a big deal, and in testing, nothing has changed my mind.
Yeah.
And my original opinion was that nothing was really playable.
On that note, just to give the set some sort of, to play devil's advocate, I guess, a little bit, the set released and the game died. Like, the game died away
Yeah.
before the set released. So,
It's not like people are
it's
avidly
not-
testing.
right, there's not a lot of people who are going and digging into the set, because it's 160 cards. Like, there's a lot of cards in this set. So,
It's pretty
like,
fair. And to be fair, we still have drafts, so that's something that could have helped
Right.
the sales.
But to be fair, like, there's probably a lot of cards in the set that we just haven't been able to test and see how they work. A lot of cards that I guess a lot of people talked about who were talking about it, the World Walker Omgoth, the guy who draws you a whole new hand, cards like...
Dracomech was the hype card.
Dracomech, yeah. Super big hype card for Rush, but I mean, even still, like, the fact that, like, the Vortex Evolutions was the name of the game for this set. That's why the set's name is Vortex. Vortex
Never
Evolutions
would have guessed.
evolves on 2 creatures. So all these evolutions that we're talking about, Omgoth, Dracomech, Euphalmus, some of the other, like, less relevant ones that are in the rare and uncommon slots and all that, just like they require 2 creatures and you're not getting super good value out of them.
Think about the evolutions that were good throughout time, even the old ones like Sabretooth, Neuron, Medusa, up until
Cobalt.
up until like Sasha and Trox. Like these creatures, they only cost 1, and it's very easy to get the value off them that you need because you're basically with 2 creatures, you're just gonna like castrate your board.
Yeah.
Which is like a disgusting image.
Right, but
it's really good.
imagine this. Like, I can give a really good example. There's a card in this set. It's the light rare. I don't know, or uncommon maybe.
Agent's Attendant.
No, it's a 4-drop Vortex Evolution for 6,500 power. When it comes on the battle zone, you can attack and unleash and get a free shield.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to Evo Fury. Cobalt costs only 2 more mana, had the same power, same double break, like they were both double breakers, only evolved off an Enforcer. Sure, this evolves off only 2 light creatures, but the value's not there, even though it costs 2 less. Like, you're minus, like...
You could
Cobalt
potentially
was
get the
great.
effect off twice, but that's realistically never going to happen. It's
Right.
not going to be able to untap and attack again. They're not going to let you do that.
Right,
I
like
don't think.
Cobalt's value, and Cobalt's value came when it entered the battle zone too. So it's like it's really just hard to justify these cards when we've had these cards sort of in the past before, and they were so much better.
Mhm.
So like, and I think that's where this set is just very lackluster and Like they got some good cards. Like
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, Dracomech's decent. Wildfire Valkyrie, which is a 3/3, the fast attacker dude. Awesome card.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a
really
good card.
neat. And I think if this game continued along its path, like
Oh,
this
that
game
card
would
definitely
see,
stable and rush.
yeah, super relevant throughout as long as the game continued. Like, we would still see that card in decks. Regent's Attendant, which some might say is really good, some might say is not as good, but it's an okay card. Like, sure, affects 6,000 dudes.
Yeah, so like the supers themselves, if I had to look at things that I thought were playable, like things that I'd be like, alright, you're not terrible for running this, it would be a 2-card list of Dracomech and Scaradorable.
The behemoth. Yeah.
Edging out Omgoth simply because Sasha exists and you're only really going to run that in a tempo deck because it's already nature and water locking into those 2 civs, and like Sasha just wins the game, Omgoth just draws you cards, you already have Reverberate for that, still not good. And it's 2 creatures, not 2 creatures for what, like 3 or 4 cards, it's just run Sasha instead. But the 2 that are playable, like Scaradorable and Dracomech, like, if I had to think of cards that I would personally play in anything in the face of the evolutions we got from the last set, there'd be 0 super rares on that list. I would probably just run an aggro deck without Dracomech, so I wouldn't have to get rid of all the things like Containment Field and Blind Beetle Prime, and like, you know, Conflagration, Arbiter, like those are 12 cards that don't hit on Dracomech that I still want to run in 3s. And Scared Orwell just, at any point, is costing more than Sasha, Boulderfist, and Trox, and one of those is always going to be better.
Yep.
It's going to be one of them. You don't know which one, so maybe Scared Orwell can, like, it'll always get rid of 2 guys, but one of the other 3 is always going to be better, and cost less, just be as effective. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, some other, I mean, interesting cards that I guess we can touch on.
I got the Clash mechanic.
Yeah, it's not worth mentioning. Sorry.
It's something else.
It's pretty rough. I think the only relevant Clash card was the 2-for-2 nature one that could potentially ramp you.
The bigger ones are going to be something in draft. I'm not really looking forward to drafting the set, to be completely honest, because I've played Limited with the set before, and it was like Clash battles and a bunch of unimpressive cards. Like Gauntlet was fun, even though it had a lot of evos that could just win you the game, because at least like the uncommons and the rares and the holos like all had power. Like your deck, if you played it and drafted it right, like you had a powerful deck. Like I feel like with this set, the power level, like it won't be imbalanced, like one player will be strictly better than the other player, but like it'll just be less exciting because the cards themselves are less exciting.
Yeah, very much so. So I think we pretty much touched on everything with Vortex. Like it's really a shame that like a lot of the other like cards that aren't supers just don't have a lot of value. I think there's the one drop nature guy, the 1-drop fire guy.
I mean those cards are just like decent support cards, but they're not gonna define anything. They're just gonna be good in certain decks that already exist.
Right. So like but that's pretty much it. That's all this set really gave us, which is a shame. And I mean, sure, if we have
for
more
how
testing,
big it is, it's a shame.
Yeah, if we have more testing, we might be able to do. We might find more gems, but at this point, there's not a lot to talk about. But leave your comments down below. I mean, you tested Vortex more than we have, which I'm sure a lot of you probably have, and just let us know what you think.
I think it was just a filler set at the wrong time because Champs is coming up. They don't want to release a filler set then Champs, but it kind of happened.
Yeah.
So, last set. Which lead us into this one. 9th out of 9.
Yeah, 9th out of 9. Oh, poor guy.
I was actually thinking Vortex could have been the last set. This was a close call.
Yeah, and I think this is the only reason we labeled this 9th is because, like, we always talked bad about it. Like, it did have some...
It was notoriously bad.
Right, but the set is the 5 Mystics. Interesting set, interesting art.
It actually, like, 2 of the cards in this set are, like, 2 of the most tier 1 cards imaginable. But it's just not enough to carry how bad the rest of the set is.
Yeah, the 4 supers were just awful.
Yeah.
All the varies, the spells, were just, they're just not great.
Incineration being the only playable one.
Yeah, Incineration being the only playable one, but it also costs 8 and it's a spell.
Which nowadays is bad. Spell's bad.
The nature one, Swift Regeneration, saw some play with Corrupteds, but we already went over that and why that's not great.
Gimmicky things are fun.
Yeah, so, but the main cards in this set were...
Like just looking at the lists, like...
yeah, you just can't find a lot of value.
Blaze Helix is not something I thought of, but it's a good card.
Right, Blaze Helix, we got the Water Mystic, which lets you search water spells.
Not even that good. Crystal Memory was still evil when this card came out, by the way.
But the 2 main cards, Broodmother, which sees play in almost everything nature.
Probably these 2 cards are so good, it's hard to compare them.
Yeah, super good. And then the only relevant super rare, Psychic Predator Rusalko, the card that we designed at Champs.
Yeah, I wasn't a part of that, and everyone thought it was too good. Like when everyone thought that, like on the dojo, that like the set was just gonna break the game because of this one card. When in reality, the card was fine, and that was the only reason the set sold anything.
No one took into account Blind Beetle Prime at the time.
Right? Like, why would you not take into account Blind Beetle Prime? It's the best card. Like, overall, I have to say Blind Beetle Prime is just the best card in the game. It definitely was oppressive enough to where certain things just weren't playable, and insane cards like Predator were balanced.
Yeah. This set gave you 2 cards, and then in a close third is Luminous Shieldwing.
It's just playable, but it's not enough to carry a set. It's just an enforcer bait.
Sees play and light rush thingies.
Like you have all like the dirt, little 2-drops and whatever Evo bait that you even have in Vortex. Like these cards are okay, but they're not like what you think of when you think of the set.
This set did give us a mechanic that I'm surprised. We still haven't seen when it came. Well, I'm not surprised at all actually. But if you summon all 5 of the Mystics, you win the game.
You did that on me once.
Did I? I tried that. I didn't do it.
Yeah, you did. Because I think I scooped right before you played the 5th one, but we were playing like a million 5 Mystic bad deck versus aggro, and like in 1 out of 10 games, I'm gonna draw so bad that you're gonna summon all 5 Mystics, obviously. So it happened.
Yeah,
but yeah,
that's the set. You got 3 relevant cards, and I guess to end our little our little rant on the sets here. I have a pack, if you've been wondering what this is.
I suggested that we go from worst to best, but we're ending on this note.
A pack of the 5 Mystics!
Woo!
Yeah,
should we
look at that
pan?
crowd.
Should we like fade and move
No,
the camera?
I'm just gonna open it right here in front of them like this.
I'm gonna close it too. It's
Yeah,
light.
so,
What are we
thanks for
hoping
watching.
Wouldn't it be something if we pulled a Broodmother and a Predator?
Right, that'd be great. Just end this in a good note. I'm taking the Predator.
This is my pack. No, you're not.
Singles binder.
No, you already have a Predator.
Don't have one of the singles binder. Just have my place set.
I'm not giving him a Predator.
Alright, well, anyways. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been a fun video, something different.
Yeah.
I think we're going to try to do a lot more of this on the channel now that the game is on its way out. We'll try to talk about, you know, the game as it was and, you know, give our opinions on it and ask for yours and sort of take it in a way that we took it with DM, for those of you who have been with us since the beginning. And then just carry that on until eventually we switch over to something else.
We have to end this game on a good note with a bang. Because on the Kaijudo site, they're still trying to make articles about Vortex.
Yeah, they are.
Whoa.
Alright, are you ready? Are you ready?
I bet. I don't know.
I don't think it's a super.
I don't
Anyways.
know. Wow.
I'm taking this. This is the whole reason I wanted to open this pack, because I need this code card for my binder. But,
And I was like, oh, we should do a video.
it's a beacon drone. Yeah, I knew that card. Alright. That is
Rampage? Is it Rampage?
Rampage!
Woo!
Alright,
I have no idea what that is. Turn it around.
Restrain. Didn't
Ah.
know that card existed.
Wait, let me see that card.
There you go. Ooh.
Okay, it's not what I
Captain
thought it was.
Orwalia.
Aurelia.
Orwalia. This was the first set they actually had designed to sort of introduce us to Draft right before Gauntlet came out, because it was, you know, designed with Draft in mind. So let that be known. This card is a Vengeful
Vengeful
Blast,
Blast. Yeah,
one of the relevant shield blasts. And,
Talks about draft, doesn't talk about one of the best draft cards.
Vectron Roller.
Wow, see, this is what we're talking about. Every pack
That's
you
a
open in this
rare.
set,
That is a rare.
every pack you open in this set that it's not a Broodmother or a Predator is a bad rare. That's just all there is in the set.
Mhm.
It's just bad rares.
Literally all there is.
This is the kind of thing you'd win at the local.
Not
Vectron card.
Alright, did we get a holo? Nope.
I kind of wish we had a bad holo so I could prove the point that most of the foils are bad.
Hypergrid Hacker, that thing, Arcane Warden,
Arcane
and the last card of this butt pack is Scourge Lord. So, this being the most relevant thing that we pulled out of the pack, so I'm taking this. You can have these
Okay.
and that.
Okay.
Enjoy. And
What's
yeah,
our first
that's
pick in this
pretty much
pack?
it.
I think
Oh my God.
it is.
code card.
You get really sad. Eventual Blast. Not even
Vengeful
close.
Blast.
Okay.
Yeah. Alright.
The end.
So, hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more videos sort of catered like this, where me and this guy sit in front of the camera and talk to you guys for an extended period of time with a little bit of editing here and there. And, yeah. Leave a like, as always. Check out the social links, Facebook, the Twitter. We'll still be super active on those as we continue to change. Go back and check out our update video that we did, and have not done yet, but will do. And where we talk about just where we're going to take this channel, where this guy might wind up taking his channel, and we just talk about that for a little bit, and that way you guys get an idea of what to expect from us here in the coming weeks as we gear up for Champs and the fallout thereafter. So,
Yep.
we may or may not see you guys next time.
Stay tuned for Hearthstone videos.
Yeah.
Streaming.
You ready for this?
Oh my god, what do I use? Did you take the good one?
I took the good.
I'm taking the Vectron Crawler.
I'll give you first hit.
Okay, with the Vectron Crawler, I'm about to break myself in half.
Well,
Vectron Crawler for the game. Look at that
Obvious
Vengeful Blast.
first
Couldn't
hit.
even handle it.
Clean cut there, sorry. Alright, well, hope you guys enjoyed. Beach.